Sagar, big news.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're on iTunes.
awesome.
That
Awesome
means
news.
that means that we're seen by the world, my friend. We are all the podcast catcher applications out there that on your Android device and on your iPhone, they all pretty much all of them use the iTunes, index for podcasts, but you have to actually submit yourself to the iTunes index to
Right.
be registered. And we're in there.
Awesome. Hey, it's still saying off air. Look, there you go. There's live.
Yeah, and yeah, we're definitely recording. I
Okay.
didn't forget. Listen, I learned my lesson on show number one.
It was just showing off air on my screen. Yeah.
No, we're on air now, and I know actually. So just not to be too not to let the cat out of the bag too much, but I know that Chinmay's been asking questions about the podcasts and how we do. But so we let's I can give a little synopsis on how we do the show, just for people that are interested, but especially Chinmay. So one of the reasons you're talking about, and we've talked about the broadcast button,
Yeah.
is because we do this show not using a Mac. A lot of people use a Mac.
Cool.
Yeah, they record on something like GarageBand or something like that. A lot of people use Skype for the same purpose. They will use their Mac with Skype and record the conversation, or they'll be in the same room. But you're in Ohio. I'm in Maryland, so that's not going to work. um, so what we do, and we've had good luck with, and I've had good luck in the past on a couple of other shows, is using Google Hangouts on air, and that's what we do, is that we record the show with a Google Hangout on air, and that is simultaneously broadcast on YouTube and also recorded on YouTube. So within 5 minutes after the show, I'm able to go to YouTube and download the video, and then I use Audacity to scrape the audio out of the video. I add a beginning and an end, and I edit anything where I said something stupid. I don't leave any of your stupid comments in there either. So I'll let Sagar's out as well. And then once that's all said and done, I upload that to the Internet Archive, which is a free. They host everything for free. I mean, as long as you're not going to be terrible, but it's the files hosted for free. And then I use a website. I purchased a domain, and we use Blogger to host. We use FeedBurner to have a feed. And then once you have everything up, you post them as you go. I do also use a website called Auphonic
Cool.
to edit the audio. And what this does is this does leveling and noise reduction.
Oh,
So that way I don't have to have that expertise. It's free for the amount of shows that we do, but it's a great service. And if you go over 2 hours a month, they do charge you. It'd be like, I think on my old shows it cost me like $11 a month to have them properly scrape all the audio with processing. So otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. I know that I'll get a hold of Chinmay at some point and give him a few more pointers, but otherwise, that's pretty much it.
oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
So,
So, and we are now on, as you said, iTunes and Facebook and Twitter, and there were two more you said.
no, we're gonna drop those.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we could, we could, we could. Here's the thing. One of the things that I've tried to accomplish with podcasting is that I do this as a hobby, right? And in the past, I did it as a hobby, and now you and I have started up doing it together. And again, not to make a great deal of money, but just to be able to talk to each other, have it recorded. I know that I've always thought that some of my recordings I would like my daughters to have when they grow up, so that they know I was not a complete whack job, or that they confirm I was a whack job. Uh, but so we do have two other venues, right, or methods for communication. That was Reddit and Google Plus. But I'm gonna remove those shortly, because I don't. I like Google Plus. I really do. I like its
Sure.
format better than Facebook, but Facebook is the ruler of all things, and Twitter is just it's straightforward and simple. So, and I was going to say when I had the other podcasts, simple is better when it comes to a hobby. It can't become so laborious that I don't want to do it. So,
Oh yeah.
I think Twitter and Facebook are where we're going to go, and you're handling those, by the way. You know that, right?
Yeah. Twitter. I think you have the handle on Facebook. I got
Okay. I'll have to do some more tweeting then.
it. As I say,
So,
the two things I stay away from is like Twitter and LinkedIn. Oh boy, the LinkedIn. It just it's chaos out there.
well, you've got almost 1,000 on Facebook. I can't even imagine what you've got on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I quit LinkedIn. So I'm not there anymore. I mean, my ID could be there because I keep getting invites.
Right.
But yeah, I'm out of there.
You're out of there. All
Yeah,
right. Well, all right. People say you got to be in there, Sagar, making your way in the world today. You got to
I
have
know,
LinkedIn.
I know. But professionally, it's a great tool to connect to people, and if you're looking, I just feel have I earned enough reputation to first to connect with someone and not sure like people gonna say nice thing about me.
Oh, I got you.
Because as you
Whoops.
said, Shanika for sure gonna say like, "Oh, my dad was a wacko," and I'm sure 10 of other people could be saying the same thing. And now they have the tool, so I don't want to empower them with their feedback.
Wasn't that what Facebook does too, though? That's
That's too social, It's like I know this. Yeah, forget it.
all right. All right. Well,
That
eh,
that that reminds me. Yeah, you gotta start using WhatsApp.
I'm
Because
not going to use WhatsApp.
oh come on, man! Anything I cannot say right to your face, I'm gonna text you through WhatsApp. That's how it works.
No, that's
It's awesome.
all right. I'll think about it. I'll think
Yeah.
about it. Maybe.
Yeah.
All right. So listen, when it comes to downloading things, by the way, and I'll say this, you know that I'm not an Apple fanboy, right?
No, yeah.
I'm not no,
You're pure geek droid.
I'm an Android guy. Exactly.
Droid.
Did you
That's good.
know that to submit your podcast to Apple, you need to install iTunes on your computer,
Right.
get an iTunes, no, not just go to the iTunes website. No, you have to install iTunes and submit your podcast.
True.
That's crazy. Anyway, I think that's just nuts that you have to install a client to submit a podcast. All the other places, all the wonderful places that I will advertise right now with my voice, just had a simple website that you could submit to. Places like tunein.com or Player FM or Stitcher Radio or even Google Play Music, which is soon going to start releasing podcasts, and they offered a portal to allow us to submit it. So, in your face, Apple. Oh, a client. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, if you do have Apple and iTunes, please vote for the show and rate it.
Yep, already did. And any of the audiences, yep, go there and vote it. It's as simple as, find every 2 weeks and there's a rating in the comment section and it shows number of stars. I think you can give only max of 4 or 5. I know you guys love us and, put 10 on 10, but there are only 5 stars you can offer. So go hit those 5 stars.
That's right. And what happens, it's interesting. What happens with that with the rating system is that once shows get enough people voting for them, you'll actually have people say, "Oh, that show's on the rise," and then it ends up on the front page of iTunes, and then all of a sudden we'll get more listeners.
True.
Yay! Which we want.
Yep.
Again, we're not in it for the money. I'm in it for the
Yes.
notoriety. What about you, Sagar? What are you in it for?
I frankly, I get an hour of your time. Yeah, that's
And
awesome. And it's a great media to clear up any of my lingering thoughts or things I'm not sure about. I can throw it out, bounce it off of you. Get, I may not necessarily agree or take the same view, but at least, I, I can confidently say, oh, we talked it through.
that's
Right?
true. We we sometimes we beat it to death. I think last week's episode was one of my favorite episodes, or last 2 weeks was awesome. But I agree with you. I think that our wives would actually agree that they get an hour away from us, and it's
Oh, totally.
not true. I know it's not. Yeah, I think I get the same things out of it. I get the being able to. There's so many things, you know, in life that we think about. At least for me, and it's probably people would tell me, John, you're wasting your time, but I constantly think about things that are important, but yet I still have to do the regular daily stuff. So, but I do want to talk about it, and I definitely want to talk about it with you, Sagar. You and I talk all the time about this kind of stuff. So I thought that's the whole point of the show, right?
True.
And yeah, I'm in it for the notoriety.
Nice.
All right. Speaking of notoriety, there's two things I wanted that we were going to talk about, and we brought them up last time. One was VW, and I'm gonna lay this out there. There's VW is number one, and then number two was the 2016 election, which I think that we should bring this up every show now until the election's over,
Kill us down.
just because it's been so in the news, and which is crazy because it's still so far away. But anyway, Sagar,
I,
what?
I just want to add one more topic if we get time, and that's just like being a geek. I just want to get it, rebounded off of you in terms of how people try to crack the Apple apps. You know, because so far I thought Apple is like the best, and there's no way the virus could just trickle in, but people found a way. So we'll talk about that if we get time.
Okay, and yeah, yes, we will. So, all right, let's start off. Let's start off with VW.
All right.
Do you know what's going on, Sagar? What's going on, Sagar?
Oh man, you know, it's like lying straight up to your face. Like, oh yeah, 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 it's great. It runs great. Pollution is just not something that you see, you know. But those gases or the emissions, you don't see them, but they're like 10 times more. And the fact that they wrote the software for it to bypass, the whole lab test, that's just awful. And did we find out what car it is? I think it's Audi, right? Or it's just the whole range of
The
Volkswagen.
whole, yeah, the whole range of and to what you said was, excuse me, what you said about not only were they bypassing it, was when the car was in diagnostic test mode, it would register the lower emissions, but
Yep.
while driving, it just ran normal, and it was putting out 40 times. I read in one article 40 times,
Yep.
40 times, not 40% more, 40 times that amount.
Times. That
That woo.
such. I mean, it could be an honest mistake, or who was kind of someone a tricky guy wrote just to get around it, because it's a software, right? So it's like if you're in test mode, display these numbers by default. Display these numbers, and you could have an array of numbers like up, blah blah blah, carbon monoxide, this that, you know, only 10 parts per million and whatnot, and then when it runs, nobody's recording. Go ahead, do it, right?
Right.
So I, I don't believe that those guys carried that on intentionally for so many years. there, I mean, someone knew about it and did nothing. That's more disturbing thing rather than, it's pollution. I agree. There are like trillions of factories in China which pollute more than a Volkswagen, but then doing that knowingly, it's just bad.
Well, and that's right. That doing it knowingly, right? So, what I've done is I've actually brought up like the timeline, right, and how this all went down. And basically, they figured out that there was a problem, right? The authorities were like, "What? Like you can't, the
Yeah.
they find out that someone is getting in and saying, that the emissions are wrong, and someone tests them, finds out, holy cow, they're like way wrong. And then initially they deny it. Now what's rolled forward is the fact that the software itself was manipulated to get the correct emissions to pass in the EU and the United States. Right? So
Right.
their law, and it was on almost at this point, a lot of their smaller diesel cars, all of them have this problem, not problem, have this cheat code in the software, right?
Yeah.
So they put in a little bit of a cheat code. And so, and looking at this here, so this started.
So you're saying nobody from US or EU found that, so it had to be some other country that found it, right?
No, actually, it was on September 18th that the EPA, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, said that the Volkswagen had installed software on 482,000 vehicles to cheat the emissions test. So, okay. And then Volkswagen comes out a few days later and says, yeah, actually, like 11 million vehicles were fitted with this deceptive software. They set aside some billions and billions of dollars to fix it.
Wow.
Their CEO resigns,
Yeah.
takes the fall. So then they put in the head of Porsche in there, and then scroll down to present day. Volkswagen, who's already starting to pay the piper, has their first quarter loss. They lose $1 billion in that quarter because they're already starting to pay the bill.
Wow.
Yeah. So then they come out on the 3rd of November and say, after being, again, the EPA calling them out, and they say that the cars with the 6-cylinder diesel engines are also bad. So then Volkswagen has to come out and say, yeah, there's about 800,000 more cars that we did this to. So, yeah. So they set aside another $2.2 billion. So now the cost that Volkswagen has estimated is almost $10 billion to fix the problem.
Just to fix the problem. What about the penalty?
Right. Well, the penalties looks like that there's going to be, the fines are going to be bad, but when it comes to that, no government wants to take a company out of business. So those can go into like forever. So like, I don't think that they're going to take them down all the way, whether that be the EU or the US. I mean, they should be penalized, right? But they'll just like have this extra tax bill forever. You know what I mean? I don't think that the penalties can really take them down. I think what can take them down is people.
Oh yeah. I don't own one, so it's like, but again, I'm paying higher price just because I'm abiding by the law, or buying a car that doesn't do it, as against my neighbor who has it and polluting the shit out. So something's gotta stop. Like, there has to be a total recall. Like, stop driving that thing, right? Fix it, and not fix it as in don't just take that software off. How do you fix the actual problem? It's like there's just no way unless you take the whole car down.
It's true. Here's a question for you, Sagar. At any point when driving behind a diesel vehicle, did you think to yourself, that car is going to burn cleaner than my car. Like they all smell like,
Yep.
and if you can't get rid of the smell, I've always thought that car's polluting way more than my car. If your car stinks when it
Totally.
drives,
Yeah.
I've never anyway, that's just one of my picadillos with
No,
diesel.
no,
I
diesel has never been clean, and it's not supposed to be clean.
it's supposed
It's
to be cheap.
cheap, and it's like, the whole, you know it better because you dealt with all the details of a car and whatnot. But the diesel, the combustion engine for the diesel itself is different than the gas. So the pollution is right there. You're just burning it. Why not coal? Use coal. It burns. It'll get you some energy.
No, it does, and you're right. And actually, it does it fires differently, right? It actually
Yeah.
is it's more simple in
Yep.
its. It uses things like instead of a spark plug, it uses a glow plug, and I could be wrong about some of this stuff, but bear with me. But a diesel engine actually doesn't like, and on these newer vehicles, there's probably a lot more technology in there, but I still think it is a simpler combustion engine. And you're right, it's gonna be dirtier just because you don't have as much control. And again, I could be wrong, but from what I remember, it's pretty much throw the gas in the hole, it explodes, it's out.
Yep.
With the um, fuel injection on a standard gasoline car, there's a lot more control that they have over the combustion and things like that. They can really fine tune that. I don't think they can on the combustion engine just simply because they use the compression itself to cause the explosion. And again, I could be wrong in the newer vehicles. I could be way wrong, but all I know is that diesel cars stink. And if you can't get rid of the stink from your fuel, if I can smell your car is more pollutive than my car is. I'm just going to put that out
Yeah.
there. That's what it feels like to me.
And to your point, yeah, okay, let's not penalize them for doing this. But now, EU or the US, are we gonna take a leading step saying, you gotta fix it? Because, there are like billions of people in the other countries, and I'll give you an example of China or India for that matter. They're like, three-wheelers, passenger vehicles, and some of them, they're not allowed, but they mix kerosene with gas or kerosene with diesel, which is way more polluting than, a normal diesel engine. So is it is it part of awareness? Then I get it. Like, okay, keep running your Audi or whatever Volkswagen, and then we'll deal with it as we go. Is it more part of an education to the driver, or but it's always going to be the cost. So people would find ways to, burn a cheaper fuel and pollute more. So how do you fix it? I mean, it's a global issue, right? Because everybody breathes the same air. So
It's,
as much as it's your responsibility, it's mine too, or someone else's too.
no, and well, remember how we talked a couple weeks ago? We talked about people that turn off the water when they're brushing their teeth, right? It's because
Yep.
they know that it's being wasteful and it takes a hot second to turn off the water. Or when you walk out of a room, you turn on a light. And even with today's technology, it's being wasteful to be wasteful. Now, when it comes to like what you're talking about, though, is you're talking about someone's livelihood. And in a country like India or China, where kerosene is cheaper, but they need that little bit of diesel to get the combustion working properly, but yet they're going to use partial kerosene.
Yep.
You're dealing with dollars and cents of someone's life, and they will not see an environmental impact versus saying eating that day, right?
Yeah.
Especially on an individual. Now, when you get to larger and larger companies, you also get into that problem. That's why, some people say that the EPA should exist, right? Because it makes sure that companies that are going for profit aren't going for profit at the expense of the environment and the communities around them, right? So overall, I would say it is an education thing. I think you mentioned that it has to be an education thing, but when it comes to someone's livelihood or a company that can either pollute or not pollute, and then either A, make money or go under, right? So in the case of that person, or in the case of a really bad business, you're going to go under. Sadly, we do have to have the EPA around for that. And then when it comes to the guy on the street, I mean, it's just like the EPA. He does have to be fined, and we have to make sure that we find him and make sure he's not polluting. But it's a tough game, right? I mean, how many three wheelers are there in India? I mean,
we're touching a billion.
right. A billion or so.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's why one of the problems with this story that I think you and I have touched on a couple of times just together in our conversations is Volkswagen was supposed to be a good guy, right? Volkswagen was a leading manufacturer since World War II, has become one of the largest, vehicle manufacturers in the world. And for a company that large and with that large of a footprint, that many employees, that much product out there, for even them to have stepped around the law to sell vehicles or to not take a loss on something. I mean, if you look at it from a dollars and cents perspective, they gambled and they lost so big because they took this gamble. Whether or not it was out the door, 2 years ago, and then finally someone who has, some scruples was like, holy
yeah,
are we doing this? And someone's like, yeah, we're doing this. And then it's like, okay, stop, everybody stop. Right.
Yeah.
Because they're still selling vehicles to this day. The Porsche Cayenne model still has this problem, and they're still selling it. And they had to and in the US, they've now put the kibosh on selling them. They're like, whoa. I can sell those anymore. So this was one of the good guys, and instead of stepping up, right? But there was no way at this point. It's so far on the line. I'm sure that whether or not the board knew or not, or whoever the CEO was. Do you take $10 billion loss and admit it to the world, or do you wait for it to be found out if it's found out? And I don't know if they waited or they were preparing to come out or not, but 40 times the limit allowed by the EU and the US, this car is pumping out, greenhouse gases or whatnot. That's jacked up, and it ruins the trust in the company, and it ruins the trust overall, where you think that big corporations, they're not just monolithic giants that do whatever they want and hurt the environment and don't care and just want to make a dollar. Where in the end you want to think that ethically, even the big corporations that are untouchable are doing the right thing. And here's one of the largest, and it is doing the wrong thing.
Except Rush Limbaugh, he just doesn't believe in pollution or global warming. He's like, that's a lie, that's a big lie. And, it doesn't happen. We have more trees and more snow than ever. And there's no hole in the ozone layer. It's going to fix itself. It would just,
I'm with Rush Limbaugh, and I understand where he's coming from. Because the world and the ecological complexity of the world, right? Whether you're talking about life, you're talking about temperatures, you're talking about internal core temperatures, you're talking about air temperatures, you're talking about air moisture, you're talking about ice caps melting. By the way, one ice cap is melting, the other is growing. So It's like, it's crazy. So how much self-healing can the world do, right? Like, there's a lot there. So I think that I don't think it should become, and I guess we're going in a different direction, but let me ask you this, Sagar. I'll put it to a question. If I were to stand up and say global warming is pure bullshit, if I were to stand up and say that right now, a lot of people would get upset with me. Is that right? Is that a correct thing to do? It,
I, if you ask me, it's real. It's pollution because the gases or the greenhouse gas, or what are the polluting gases? They have nowhere to go. Where would they go, right? So even though we're creating, and it's always about the balance. So yeah, nature and everything, it's creating its own oxygen and whatnot. I'll take you to some documentary. Probably it was on Discovery or something. So 50% of world's oxygen comes from Amazon. Not the company, but the Amazons itself.
Amazon wishes it could sell air.
Oh yeah, they might have a couple of products on that. But look at the funniest part now. When we say Amazon, I feel like the trees and everything, and how it's the whole forest that's giving us the oxygen, right? So a couple of jerks like you and me, they did some research on it. Like, oh, we are praising Amazon just shit way too much, right? There's got to be something out there. So they put some sensors, and you know how those guys are, like, with the high tech devices, even to find the ghost which they never found so far. So they, I love those shows.
Ghost hunters.
Oh yeah, and the other one,
Sasquatch.
like that river
Big,
monster. I hate that guy. He never found a monster, but the show is like a river monster. I don't know
I
why.
know. I'm
Like
with you.
he finds like a tiny teeny fish that even Sarah, Susan, and Sanika could find when they go fishing. Hey, just hold your camera right, man. You're jerking it too much. So, but yeah, that's not the point. But so they put some sensors out there, and just detecting where the oxygen is coming from, where it's going, and how it's providing 50% of world's oxygen, at least on this part. And there's some other parts in Africa and Australia that do the same thing. And we think it's just because of it could be because of the forest. I give it to you because plants give us oxygen. That's what we have been told, right? So they put a lot of sensors and high-tech devices. So what happens? It's actually true. Amazon gives shitload of oxygen in a day, and they could actually detect, like, tons and tons of oxygen coming out of Amazon every day. But they kept the sensors on overnight. All the trees, animals, and whatnot in Amazon just suck it back. They take it back. Everything that's been emitted as the oxygen was taken back at night. So where the hell is oxygen coming from, right? So
Right.
because of the rain and everything, all the microbial uh, animals, or what you want to call them, that the rain pushes them so deep into the ocean, but they're still alive, and they produce the oxygen that's not consumed by ocean, that gets directly into the air. So all the microbes through the rain, they are giving us the oxygen,
Well,
not the trees, not the plant, not the rainforest, not the Amazon.
so to your point, right? Because I'm not a doctor of climatology or weather maps or green screens. I'm just like you. I'm seeing some documentaries.
Yeah,
I was raised knowing that plants produce oxygen. That's how we get oxygen. Uh, so as a complete layman and someone just watching, here's my question. If I say it's bullshit, you should not ostracize or shun people that say it's bullshit, because there are still scientists that think that it's not right because they're looking at it from a different angle than somebody else is. And I think that the complexity of the earth, the complexity of, I mean, like right there, you saw a documentary where you were like, shut up.
yeah.
No, No, we get all of our oxygen from the Amazon. That's cool. I agree. I can see that. See how dense that forest is, and then with the air currents. Yeah, I'm down with that. Amazon hooking us up, right? That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But then you find out that these microbes are the ones that are being actually pushed down through the rivers and then into the oceans, and they're the ones producing oxygen. That could all be true, right? So right there was something brand new that we learned as laymen. Maybe the scientific community has known it for a while, but it's more stuff that we don't know. And I think that the biggest conclusion that I come out of global warming and with recycling and with being a good steward and like all that jazz, right, is what do I do, right?
True.
And one of the things that people do is they buy something like that Volkswagen diesel where they've been told it has low emissions, or I turn off the water when I brush my teeth, or I recycle, or I buy a vehicle that gets lower emissions and has better gas mileage. One reason is because I don't want to waste money on gas if I don't have to. But number two is why not do your best to take care of the environment, right? Now, some people will argue, well, like a Prius has all these batteries are a bunch of waste as well. And, it's like, it's these light bulbs have mercury in them, or they're going to kill us all in the dumps or whatever. We do have to make sure that we don't cut off our nose to spite our face. So that does become important. But I think that everyone, and when you talked about the guy in the 3-wheeler, everyone needs to learn not to be wasteful and not to just throw away every single thing and learn to recycle, learn to be a good steward for your life and for the people around you and things like that. Whether or not global warming is true or not, you should still do your best to not be a wasteful person and to understand like how to reuse something and not just throw everything away or, burn kerosene and gas if you can get away with it. Right.
Yeah.
Don't you think ultimately that's really what's the getaway? It doesn't matter whether or not Rush Limbaugh is a blowhard. He's a total blowhard, but he can have that opinion that it doesn't exist.
True.
But he should also turn off the water when he's brushing his teeth.
He should. That's real.
Right.
uh, yes and no, because it's so complex. I mean, I know you always go for, you want everything simple, but if it's so complex, maybe the Almighty God said, like, hey, you don't need to understand. Do what you do, and I'll take care of it. And that's why people are doing it. It's more of an ignorance on people's side, and keep doing, the wasteful things or, harmful things, if you wish. Because it's not limited only to the global warming. There are like a ton of other things that people do, which you understand you need to control, but how do we educate everyone to not do it, or at least not do it knowingly? That's the hardest step. But unless we get there, it's gonna happen. A few people cannot change it, but that's a good start, as they say, But I, I don't see an end to it, because I want cheap stuff, right? I want cheap plastic toys and whatnot made in China, which pollute more than my car does in the whole year.
Right.
So unless we stop buying Chinese, it's not gonna happen. I mean, we want jobs in America. The only option is stop buying from China, and China would say, "Hey, stop asking me for money."
Well, that's why it does
So
become
that
so
exactly, now you're coming to the complex part. So even the global warming is complex, and politics is complex. So to take a stand, and it just that, to what extent should we go to protect our views? I think that's the challenge, and because everyone has a breaking point. I mean, I'll do it. I'll do it. But if someone offers me a free Volkswagen, I might drive it. Maybe just for a day, but I might drive it. right?
That, and that's the guy in the three-wheeler. He's like, even
Yeah,
if he found out that kerosene and burning kerosene and diesel was like just totally jacked up for the environment, he'd be like, but yeah, but I got to eat today. And
yeah,
this is the job I do is I drive this three-wheeler and I
yep.
drive people around and I take them where they need to go.
All day, and he might be coughing his lungs out, but then again, he's got to do what he got to do.
Exactly. So I think that you make a valid point that it's going to take generations is really the answer to this question. It's going to take generations for everyone in the world to understand. And the global warming folks are saying, no, the problem is now, and we have to be good stewards now. And they're thinking in the long now, and they're saying we need to enact laws that won't allow the guy in the three-wheeler to put kerosene in his tank.
Yeah.
But they need to make laws, which they already have, to make sure that auto manufacturers don't produce cars that create too high of emissions. Well, now here you go with the Volkswagen saying, well, we'll get around that by cheating, right?
Yeah.
So the anti-global warming folks are like, you're hindering businesses. You're going to, Volkswagen could go out of business. However many people work for Volkswagen, 200,000 people are going to lose their jobs because of EPA regulations, which are silly because they're not needed because either the earth is so complex that it can take care of itself, or B, God will provide. Right. So then they're saying that you're actually hindering. So my stance is this: if you know, then do your best for yourself and your family and understand it, and also teach your kids to do the same thing. Don't be a dick. Right? Don't
Yep.
be a dick if you don't have to. Now let the rest of the world and the generations and generations of people, if they constantly teach their kids, hey, don't be a dick, turn out the light, brush your teeth, don't leave the water on, don't drive where you don't need to drive, ride your bicycle, whatever.
And don't use marijuana. And that's what we did at Ohio.
Oh,
Io. 2-1. We kicked ass of marijuana.
now
Oh
listen.
boy. That was
What
fun. It was a big vote, and 63% said, ain't gonna happen.
what do
So
you
we
what is that, Sagar? All the
let's
other states are like, let's get high.
let's get high. Yep. Ohio, as we're always I mean, we're middle of nowhere. Even if we have a factory that produces marijuana, no one would know about it because no one comes here. It's Ohio. And we said, no, not gonna happen. And now, there are a couple of points again, as you said, it's so complex that even though we say, okay, we kick the butt 2-1, that 1%, I'm not saying they're always high because they voted for it. But again, there are people who want to say hi. Now you can't educate them. If they're saying yes, they already know what good it comes out of. So there's no education there that's going to help them, or counseling. But that they made it so complex. It's almost as if someone didn't want to pass it. The profits from legalizing that were gonna go to only 10, 10 big companies because only they would be able to sell it in Ohio.
Oh, is that why that law didn't pass?
Yeah. So it's not like
Wow.
open market buy your shit from that guy right behind the dumpster. No. No, they said if you want to buy it from these 10 guys.
Well,
That could have made them so freaking rich.
well,
And we don't like
and
rich. We don't like rich in Ohio. So.
no, one of them is actually Nick Lachey. Nick Lachey from one of the boy bands back in the day, and he married Jessica Simpson and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
He's actually getting, I believe he's into the pop market. I might be wrong. I think I read an article about that. But so the Ohio law, right, in Denver, or in Colorado and in Washington State, what they did was they tried to enact laws that will allow you to sell marijuana, whether it be joints or THC laden brownies or candies. They threw up regulations and licensing so that way they could take in all the taxes. And they probably, I'm sure they put in a higher tax on marijuana than anything else, right? So that way there would be revenue for the state in a regulated industry. So Ohio, were they trying to do the exact same thing, or did they already have the names of the companies listed? I'm confused.
No, they have the names listed.
In the law?
In the law.
No, not in the law.
Not in the law, but in the guidelines. Like, these are the qualifications if you want to sell.
Right, that's normal. Okay.
And there were only 10 who could qualify.
Right, and that's normal too, right? Okay, so but what was the underlying other issue? Because that seems like a normal. It is confusing to me that you guys didn't pass it, because I think even Maryland would probably pass it. But then again, we're very. I don't know, maybe not. What do you think about marijuana? Let's just throw that out there. What do you think of marijuana?
I never tried it, and that's my problem. So I don't know, what a high marijuana high means. So it's kind of, where do I go? Like, it's something I never tried.
Right.
So it's more like, and I tried almost every other liquor and settled on Jack and Diet Coke. But it could be good. Could be, if it gets rid of my neck pain, or what is that? I might go for it, man. I might go for it.
Or your glaucoma? I'm with you. So marijuana is different than a lot of the other drugs, right? Because no matter how much you smoke, you're not going to die. You'd have to literally ingest or smoke your own body weight in marijuana to die. So there's no ODing on marijuana.
Really? Okay.
That's true. Are you impaired? Should you drive? No. Just like liquor. Right. Okay. It does put you in a euphoric, lazy day kind of like attitude. Right.
That day.
I know, right. And I've known many people when I was much younger that smoked it daily. There were people, I worked in restaurants and people were smoking on the job. Right. And some people were completely functional smoking marijuana, right? They just, it's almost like smoking a cigarette to them. Is that they would smoke a little bit, feel a little, ooh, and then they would get the job done. And it was almost like a stress reliever, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that doing it on the job is appropriate, obviously. But then there were the people that I did know that would smoke it and just turn into a dumb rock. I mean, like literally a dumb rock. And years and years later, they're still the dumb rock. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean that just like alcohol, it can be abused just like alcohol or any other drug, and that it should, you shouldn't do it on the job. You shouldn't do it while driving because it does have impairment problems, and it is an addictive substance that could lead to other things. People say it's a gateway drug. But the thing is that so is drinking. Because what you're looking for is either an upper or a downer, and you're going to get addicted to either one, whichever one you really want. And so if there are other ones out there and you find out, so if you have an addictive personality, you don't want to get on anything. So
true.
I don't see a problem legalizing marijuana at all.
Wow.
I really don't. I have no problem with legalizing marijuana. If I owned a company and I found out that someone was smoking on the job, I would fire them right away. Right. Because it's a drug that changes your view and your thinking, right? It's an inhibitor or whatever you want to call it. So that's my thought.
Is it part of the drug test that we do on the job, or it's not?
I'm pretty sure it is.
It is. Okay.
I mean, nowadays as it becomes more and more legal, if you have THC in your system, that's going to be normal, but if you're actually high, that's when you can be fired. just like
Oh, okay.
if you're drunk.
Okay, so it cannot be part. I mean, or there like a permissible limit? Like if you have eight,
Um,
if you're eight on, or 0.08, like just like liquor, 0.08 THC, and then you're drunk or you're high.
yeah, I don't know if they have those tests ready yet or not. I have no idea. I think they do. Um, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. But and again, if you want to go home
Yeah.
and smoke a bowl or smoke a joint or smoke it out of a hookah or smoke it out of whatever you got, I mean, you might be using the old tinfoil tinfoil creation you did with a pen. It doesn't matter what you're smoking it out of. If you want to sit at home and smoke yourself up some marijuana and get a little bit tipsy and then go to sleep after eating a bag of Cheetos, that's on you. Okay, you can wake up with orange fingers and with your Cheetos and take a shower,
Just
and
don't rub
then
your eyes.
right, and then come to work, and you're fine, right?
Yeah.
I have no, just like if someone wants to have a nightcap and then go to bed and sleep well with their little buzz going, that's what people do, and they get through life just fine. Now, if you're smoking it at work, if you're drinking at work, you have a problem, and that's a totally different category and it's a totally different subject because if
It's
you
it,
it's addiction, it's different.
but marijuana is gonna generate so much money. They might just come up with day marijuana and night marijuana, like a Dayquil and Nyquil.
No, because you're
It's
changing.
gonna relieve your pain. You're gonna be perfectly fine, and you're not gonna be drowsy. Still don't operate heavy machinery and fine print, but
And you know what, Sagar, you actually make a valid point. You're absolutely right. There's a chance that the medical industries could get into the whole THC thing. And I think they have, and they're trying to figure out what is it that makes the glaucoma pain go away. And they are trying to extract that. You have a point. And there might be a day pot and a night pot.
yeah.
That's a good point. That's interesting. I never thought about that. Anyway, all right. So
It's weird where people spend money on research. It's just absolutely weird. I've seen so many industries, and they're just waiting to explode in terms of just because of the regulations or what they have around the world. But people do research on anything, like you know, any weird thing, give it to people, and they would dig the thing out of it, and they would produce the result the way they want it or the way people want to hear about it.
right.
So that's why I don't trust too much with this exit polls and election polls. It just, the result is the result. So that I hijacked your main point, the politics, but where do you stand right now?
On which one? On which?
Trump, Hillary.
Okay, all right. So we're good. Okay. All right. So, and I think we'll have to leave the why the iPhone can be hacked for next week. But yeah. So politics. It's just as complicated as global warming. So we have, a stable of folks that are just crazy. Bernie Sanders, kind of nuts. Hillary Clinton. New poll said that 60 to 70% of Americans don't trust Hillary Clinton. Right? So that's who you want to be president. You've got Donald Trump, who through the course of his life has seen some really weird ups and downs where he's gone bankrupt, I think like twice, but yet still had millions of dollars worth of real estate available to him, like things like that. And that could be wrong. So I not mean it'd be libel or slanderous, but it's just an interesting thing. I mean, check him out on Wikipedia. You'll find out his history. But, and he became a celebrity. He's a celebrity rich person. He's a Kardashian, right? He would probably be very offended by that. But he is in the entertainment business on part of his how he makes money. And in the back end, he makes money by being a business person. But then again, he also, purchased or started Miss USA and owns that as a business. and makes money out of entertainment. And then he also became an entertainer himself when he did the Apprentice. So here's a person that likes the limelight and is also a good business person, and works with millions and millions of dollars. Then you have someone like on the other side, we had Hillary, Bernie. Now we have Trump and Ben Carson.
Ben Carson, man, of all people.
Of all people. I mean, see, in Christian communities, Ben Carson is actually very, very popular. Everyone knows who he is. His book "Gifted Hands" is very popular because he's a Christian man and pronounces his Christianity and his love for Jesus everywhere he goes. Right? He's very devout, and he's also very well liked, and he's an incredibly good surgeon. Right? So he's got all these things going for him. All these things going for him. So what are your thoughts? And knowing that there's a reason he came out of nowhere, what do you think of him?
Ben Carson, man, he straight away he fails to impress me, no matter what. Because he doesn't come across as a strong leader. That's why I like that Maryland guy. He knows his shit.
Don't.
But so he had a couple of views, and I think before I knew him fully, I might have mentioned to you, like, he looks like a dummy guy. Someone else is paying for his campaign, because he was supporting other candidates more than leading them. That there's a difference being a leader of the masses as against the leader of the leaders. How do you become leader of the leaders? Because they're already leaders, so they have their opinions. So on the stage, it looked like he just, oh yeah, you're right, and then to the left, oh yeah, you're right too. But all I want to say is, and he would make such a weak point in terms of when asked like where he really stands on Iran or anything, and he's like, we must take a step that's right for our people. I get it. I know that. What you gonna do? And that's where he kind of fails to impress me in the whole thing. And so the orange guy is still leading in my books.
The orange guy. Is that what you call him? Is that Trump?
The Trump.
The Trump. So I think that Ben Carson suffers from what you're talking about, and that is he's in a room full of leaders, and he's also in a room full of people that have been doing the public speaking, public debating spin machine. So instead of saying, oh, I think that's what we're right for our peoples, if you can come up with a larger paragraph with more oomph behind it that still also made no sense, then you'll be a good politician, right? You got to be able to spin your words so that you use details so that you sound like you know what you're talking about, but you actually still don't answer the question. That's how they do it. I mean, if you really look at it, that's how they do it most of the time. So the problem with Ben Carson is that I am positive that if he was in a surgical type of venue, right? Let's say he's operating.
Yeah.
And someone says something that is not true about the situation in the surgery, Ben Carson's voice and his attitude towards that person would probably be a much more stern, direct, and have a lot more, character to it. Where right now, when he did the debates, he looked like a sleepy puppy, right? And I think that it'd be, I don't know him personally, but I wish him the best, and I think that he's a great surgeon and he's saved lives, which a lot of people can't say that they've done before, and he's also good at what he does. Getting into politics, I just don't know, and what's happening right now is that they're really tearing him apart because he's actually in some poll numbers, Ben Carson is ahead of Trump. Well, but at the beginning of the show, I said I would love notoriety, right? That's what I want. But I would also hate it as well, because then people are digging into your life. And I don't really want anybody digging into my life. No way. Not that there's anything back there, but but it's my life. There's no reason that the country needs to know my life, or that a fan base of 4 people at this point need to know what my life is. Ben Carson wrote his own autobiography, and they're tearing it apart and finding out that there are some mistruths, some blatant lies in his autobiography.
Yeah. And
And
people are digging into it, and they're throwing it back to him. And but
right,
that's what we did with that Miss USA from way up north.
right. And what about? Well, remember when John Kerry ran?
Yeah.
He got torn apart because of some of the lies that he told about his his trips to Vietnam. Right.
Oh
So,
yeah. How did Bush get around that? I was serving, but you were not. You
well,
showed up late.
well, that,
How did he get around that? People
well, that,
never got hold of
I mean, that's the thing, is that he had better PR, and Ben
it.
Carson
Yeah.
really does need to spin it a little bit better. The thing is, and this comes up all the time, I think, in our lives, is that think about the best person you know. Like in your mind, Sagar, think of the person, whether it be like your dad or a mentor you had growing up, or a famous sports figure that you can think of, or something like that. And think of the pedestal that you have them on,
Hmm.
right? And then think of the fact that there should not be a pedestal, because they are going to make a mistake, a large enough mistake that you're going to, you know, look down on them at that point. And you shouldn't look down on them. I think that really what we should do is not have anybody on any pedestals at all, because we're all human, right? We're
Yeah.
all going to make mistakes. Ben Carson is looked on by the Christian community as the answer to their prayers, right? And he's a healer, and he's, you throw all these labels on him, but really he's just like you and me. I mean, I could walk up to that podium too and say the exact same things and have the same experience. Now, I'm not as old as he is, so I mean, give me another 15 years or whatever,
Hmm.
and I'll have even more experience doing that. I could probably do it pretty well. And as long as you're successful at what you do in life, anyone can try and become president. You just have to be a successful person and be a, go-getter. But you made mistakes in life, and we put people on pedestals like Tiger Woods and even Bill
Oh
Cosby,
yeah.
and right, all these people are people, and they're going to make mistakes, and they're going to do lewd things. They're going to do wrong things. They're going to commit crimes. They're going to do all this stuff because they're all people, right? I really don't think anybody out there is completely untouchable. I really don't. And so Ben Carson being called out on these lies, he wanted to sell a book. So he
Hmm.
told some mistruths, or he told what he remembers from the past. And was he wrong? I don't know if he lied on purpose or not, but he definitely sold a lot of books.
Yeah.
But he also did save lives. So there are things about him that are good. Same thing with Trump. Trump has done some amazing things, donated a lot of money, and created some very good businesses that hired people and did really good stuff. Hillary Clinton has been in politics all of her life. I'm sure that she's done some good things, but honestly, I don't like career politicians. That's just my personal opinion. I think that you should not be in politics your entire life. It's bad for government, and it's bad for people. It's just a bad idea.
Yeah.
So I don't like her at all. But and Bernie Sanders, I know nothing about. I think my brother wanted me to look into him, but I haven't had a chance to.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's just an old guy with old views, and he doesn't want to fix anything. He's not aggressive enough to fix anything. He's more like, oh, let's put some regulations on this. If you come up with an issue, all he's gonna do is, oh, well, okay, follow these 4 guidelines. He should be fine.
All right.
Yeah, so he's not, I mean, to him, I would rather go with Hillary in terms of, at least she's gonna do something. Whether it could be wacko, stupid, or brilliant, could be anything, you know, whatever comes out of her mind. But she's far better in terms of taking some hard decisions than Sanders. But all that stuff is giving Trump so much advantage. Whether it's
Sure.
Bad decision, raw decisions, or it just are hard politics. Everything is giving him benefit because none of them is kind of standing up and saying, I'm a good guy, trust me, and I'm gonna do this. Except the Maryland
Oh God, please.
guy.
We'll save that for next. We'll
Yeah.
dig into O'Malley, and
Tell me.
O'Malley's actually fighting his own fight. There's
Oh,
I
really?
think it was one of the online news magazines purposely removed his name from the caption on a picture. It was like Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, and then it said an unidentified gentleman, and it was
Oh,
O'Malley. And like that news magazine purposely removed his name from the caption on the picture. I
no
mean,
way.
that is stone cold, just terrible, right? He is the dark horse that could come out because he's a golden boy. He is the spitting image of what America would want as a president. He's tall,
Right? Yeah.
he's white, he's good looking, he's been a governor before, right? He smiles well. He's actually a really good orator, just like Obama. So he's the guy who stands up there and, like, when he smiles to the camera, there's like this ting noise and his teeth gleam. You know what I mean? Like, everything about him is exactly what you would want when you're trying to run for president. He has
Yeah.
all of the qualities that a TV watching nation wants,
True.
right?
Yep.
So that's why I think that he is kind of a dark horse. But his Sagar, his history as mayor of the city I'm actually sitting in, and then governor of this state, it's terrible, man. I mean, like, he
Uh,
enacted a rain tax in the state where all of the flat surfaces on your property,
yep.
whether it be your roof or your driveway, if you have impermeable surfaces that have rain on them, based on satellite images, you will be taxed a certain amount for the amount of water that hits your roof that year or your driveway and then goes into the sewer drain and drains into the Chesapeake Bay. You're being taxed on rain.
Oh, yeah.
Rain, Sagar. Rain. Okay, listen, next week we'll talk about iPhones, government waste, and O'Malley. How about that?
All right. Word. Are we already over an hour?
Oh yeah,
All
we're well into it. No, I think we're at an hour and 10 minutes. So I think we
right.
should cut it now.
Cool,
As
man.
much as
Yeah.
you and I could keep talking about it. But listen, let's okay. There is something that I think we should talk about, and that is next week or in 2 weeks. And that is something like the rain tax or something like the National Healthcare Act, right? I think we
Yep.
should talk about that and how some of that works, and people don't see how it works and understand how it can be a problem.
Cool.
All
Those are
right.
those are a lot of good topics.
And then
I like the rain
iPhones,
tax. Yeah.
hackable, and then O'Malley. I think we should talk about O'Malley. I mean, we talked about Ben Carson, and
Yep.
the fact that the mighty can fall, and the mighty can make mistakes, and good people can make mistakes. And I think that O'Malley is a Hillary Clinton, just not as deep in it. But anyway, yeah, we'll talk about those
Awesome.
in a couple weeks.
All right, man. So tune into iTunes or Facebook or anywhere you could find every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. That's absolutely right. We're on, again, iTunes, which we want you to rate us on there if you can, and then also tunein.com, Stitcher Radio, Google Play soon, Player FM, any podcast catcher app that you have. And if you've been sent this link on the web page, you can actually check us out. You go to the webpage, there's a how-to on how to connect to iTunes and use an Android device to pick up the show. So check that out.
Cool, cool.
All right, that's it for this week, Sagar.
All right, man. Thank